Oh, we're joined now by Mvuzo Notyesi, the National Association of Democratic Lawyers President. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for speaking to us. So I just thought we should tackle some of the discussions that you've been having internally and externally that have to do with the Constitution, the law itself, the judiciary, and of course members of the legal practice. So you say you've analyzed, examined and discussed the provisions of the latest draft of the legal practice bill as published by government in its latest Gazette, that was in May 2012. But you say your constituent branches had an opportunity to make submissions on this and they shared their views. Can you share with us what came out of the consolidated document?
Well, thank you very much for having me. Firstly, the conference offered an opportunity for members to reflect first on the Legal Practice Act, as well as the question whether through this act the transformation agenda of the legal profession has been achieved. NADEL has stood fast seeking for a fused legal profession, a fusion of legal profession, meaning that you bring together advocates, attorneys. You don't have the artificial distinction between advocates and attorneys. This is a matter of what we're saying in terms of this act has not been sufficiently dealt with because we still have this distinction between attorneys and advocates. This is a matter then that we say raise for it to be reconsidered and to be dealt with so as to accelerate a transformation and achieve a total transformed legal profession. That was a matter that was addressed, and the minister himself agrees that this is a gap that must be narrowed, but must be closed, because at the end of the day, we want to have one simple profession of practicing lawyer and legal.
And just go a little deeper into that about the bill referring to practitioners as legal practitioners, so while retaining the distinction between attorneys and advocates, what is the impact, the ramifications of that distinction in your opinion? And does it serve the purpose in terms of our constitutionalism?
Yes. It impacts, firstly, that has an impact on Section 34 of the Constitution in terms of access to justice. It is one of the barriers because if you want a legal practitioner, you now have to, whether you have means or not, you have to engage two practitioners. You have to have an attorney. The attorney must be an advocate. That increases costs in terms of legal services, and the increase on legal costs or the exorbitant legal costs that results in the lack of access to justice. That's what we say in terms of the main objectives of us as NADEL, as well as the promise in the Constitution of access to justice. We have not progressed very well because a litigant now must have an attorney, and the first matter to advocate, you still have the referral rules, and that increases cost of the
So what are you proposing as NADEL in terms of the fusion of the profession? Because you say the problem, as you've just explained, it denies access, and obviously we're talking about the majority of the population, South Africans, and you say it is very much indicative of the archaic apartheid colonialism structure, the governance structure.
Yes, our proposal is that we have to go to the very first demand, which was fundamental one of the progressive lawyers pre-1994, where we demanded for a fused legal profession where there's no distinction and barriers, distinction between attorneys and advocate. You have one practitioner, one training of that of the practitioners, a single training for all legal practitioners. That is, you have the same training as an advocate or an attorney, and that would, in our view, enhance both, will address both the question of access to courts as well as access to the profession, and will actually ensure the achievement of the goals of the transformation that were set for ourselves. But now there's nothing that has been done except to preserve these distinct institutions, so much as one would easily safely say we are even back to what was the situation pre-1994. That's the point that we are making. So we just have to take it head on, make sure that we dismantle these lines, and also have one training for all these.
Right. And just finally, just share the thoughts that you've been having around regulation. You say it's only appropriate that the legal profession govern itself with what you say is little or no interference from the executive and legislative branches of government. Is there concurrence among other legal bodies that you say you've spoken to about this, and practically how will it pan out?
Yes. We have, there are those who are the beneficiaries of the old system, which will continue to demand for the maintenance of the status quo. They would not really support the transformation. Well, all according to them, all what has happened is to justify the status quo, which we believe it should be undone, it should be eradicated. They will not support, but there are other forces, organizations such as BNA, such as SABC. They agree entirely with us, because with this distinction currently, what happened is, even in terms of regulations, you have all the various bar associations having their own examinations, which are not even regulated by the Act. And then you have, out of those examinations, a systematic exclusion of, in particular, the black practitioners or black graduates to enter into the profession. So, but if we were to remove this distinction, know that there would be one single regulator. Even practitioners themselves, they would know to whom are they accountable, who is regulating them. Even in terms of discipline, you would know that if there's a complaint, you refer to one single regulatory body. Unlike the situation where now there are several bodies regulating the same practitioner, and some of these bodies, they are not even, they don't even derive that power from legislation. That's the essence that was told. And we believe that we will have support from the like-minded organizations. And we are likely to succeed in terms of the resolution that we have taken.
Mvuzo Notyesi, who is the president of the National Association of Democratic Lawyers, as president on their anniversary, some of the work that they've done towards the legal profession, including changes to legislation, their thoughts and suggestions on that.